Okay, and we're going to send out a notice to everybody that we're online, and then we're going to chant. Hold on a second. Okay, and now I'm going to check to make sure we are online. We are online. Okay. Alrighty. So, okay. Let me just make sure the volume is all right for chanting. And we're going to chant the Damodarashtaka. Yeah, the volume is too high. Let's put it down. Okay, that's better. Okay. Damodarashtaka. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Paravidikacharya All Stotera Satashi Shimad, His Divine Grace Abhaya Charanada Bhaktivedanta Goswami Srila Prabhupada Jai ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananda Koti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shidwai Gadadha Shiva Siddhi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopika Sayam Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavanam Ki Jai Mathuram Ki Jai Jagadada Swami Ki Jai Yamuna Ki Jai Shivadi Lasi Devi Ki Jai Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Gaur Premalanda Hari Hari Bol. All glories the assembled devotees, all glories the assembled devotees, all glories the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharane Nivashesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deja Tarine. So I'm going to read the translation to the Damodar Ashtaka. So, to the Supreme Controller who possesses an eternal form of blissful knowledge, whose glistening earrings swing to and fro, who manifested himself in Gokula, who stole the butter that the gopis kept hanging from the rafters of their storerooms, and who then quickly jumped up and ran in retreat in fear of Madhya Yashoda, but was ultimately caught to that Supreme Lord Sri Damodar. I offer my humble obeisances. Upon seeing his mother's whipping stick, he cried and rubbed his eyes again and again with his two lotus hands. His eyes were fearful and his breathing quick, and his Mother Yashoda bound his belly with ropes. He shivered in fright, and his pearl necklace shook. To the Supreme Lord Sri Damodar, who is bound by his devotees' love, I offer my humble obeisances. Those super excellent pastimes of Lord Krishna's babyhood drown the inhabitants of Gokula in pools of ecstasy. To the devotees who are attracted only to his majestic aspect of Narayana and Vaikuntha, the Lord herein reveals, I am conquered and overwhelmed by pure loving devotion. To the Supreme Lord Damodar, my obeisances hundreds and hundreds of times. O Lord, although you are able to give all kinds of benedictions, I do not pray to you for liberation, nor eternal life in Vaikuntha, nor any other boon. My only prayer is that your childhood pastimes may constantly appear in my mind. O Lord, I do not even want to know your feature of Paramatma. I simply wish that your childhood pastimes may ever be enacted in my heart. O Lord, the cheeks of your blackish lotus face, which is encircled by locks of curling hair, have become reddened like bimba fruit due to Mother Yashoda's kisses. What more can I describe than this? Millions of opulences are of no use to me, but may this vision constantly remain in my mind. O unlimited Vishnu, O Master, O Lord, be pleased upon me. I am drowning in an ocean of sorrow, and am almost like a dead man. Please shower the rain of mercy upon me, uplift me, and protect me with your nectarian vision. O Lord Damodar, in your form as a baby, Mother Yashoda bound you to a grinding stone with a rope for tying cows. You then freed the sons of Kuvera, Manigriva, and Nalakuvara, who were cursed to stand as trees, and you gave them the chance to become your devotees. Please bless me in the same way. I have no desire for liberation into your effulgence. O Lord, the entire universe was created by Lord Brahma, who was born from your abdomen, which was bound with a rope by Mother Yashoda. To this rope I offer my humble obeisances. I offer my obeisances to your most beloved Srimati Radharani, and to your unlimited pastimes. Jai Lord Damodar. Okay, so now we are going to go to the Sri Caitanya Caritamrta. So Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pastaya Budale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharni Nivasesha Sunyavadi Paschatade Jatari. So Om Magana Timidanda Shagananjana Shlakaya Chakshur Meditam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, who so kindly opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge while I was blinded in the darkness of ignorance. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So, Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Dvaita Chandra, Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda, Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Dvaita Chandra, Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda, Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Dvaita Chandra, Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Okay. So reading from the Sri Caitanya Caritamrta, Madhya Lila, chapter 17, and we're continuing with verse number 115. And there's some discussion here. Of course, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is in Varanasi, which is basically Lord Shiva's place, but it's also a place for Mayavadis. And there's this one Mayavadi known as Prakashananda Saraswati, who is criticizing Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And the devotees like Tapan Mishra and Chandrasekhara are very upset about this. So let's continue at this point. Of course, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is on his way to Vrindavan. So he stopped there to see his devotees, Tapan Mishra and Chandrasekhar, and also to preach in Varanasi. Okay. So, Shunya Prakashananda Bahuta Sila Viprayupahasa Kari Kahite Lagila. Prakashananda Saraswati laughed very much to hear this description. Joking and laughing at the Brahmin, he began to speak as follows, because the Brahmin was explaining about Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that if anyone sees him, he starts to chant and dance, and he has an effulgence. And so Prakashananda Saraswati is trying to put Lord Chaitanya down. He's very upset, and he is envioso. Shuniyache Garadeshira Sanyasi Bahuka Keshava Bharati Shisha Loka Rataraka. Prakashananda Saraswati said, "Yes, I have heard about him. He is a sannyasi from Bengal, and he is very sentimental. I've also heard that he belongs to the Bharati Sampradaya." Oh, pillow. Not to sleep, but for my back. That he belongs to the Bharati Sampradaya, for he is a disciple of Keshava Bharati. However, he is only a pretender. Phew, how offensive can you get? Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was considered bhavuka, sentimental, because he was always seen in the bhava stage. That is, he always exhibited ecstatic love for Krishna. However, foolish people considered him sentimental. In the material world, so-called devotees sometimes exhibit emotional symptoms. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's ecstatic love cannot be compared to the imitative, emotional exhibitions of pretenders. Such exhibitions do not continue for very long. They are temporary. We actually see that some emotional imitators exhibit certain symptoms, but immediately after their exhibition, they are attracted to smoking and other things. In the beginning, when Prakashananda Saraswati heard of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's activities, he considered them to be those of a pretender. Consequently, he called them a loka prataraka, a pretender. Mayavadis cannot understand the transcendental symptoms exhibited by a devotee. Therefore, when such symptoms are manifest, the Mayavadis equate them with temporary emotional feelings. However, Prakashananda Saraswati's statement is offensive, and consequently, he should be considered an atheist, Pashandi. According to Srila Rupa Goswami, since Prakashananda Saraswati was not engaged in the Lord's devotional service, his sannyas is to be considered Hogu Vairagya, means false renunciation. This means that since he did not know how to use things for the Lord's service, his renunciation of the world was artificial. Caitanya nama tandra bhavukha ganalana deshe deshe grame grame pulena chana. Prakashananda Saraswati continued, I know that his name is Caitanya and that he is accompanied by many sentimentalists. His followers dance with him, and he tours from country to country and village to village. Ye tanrdege se ishvara kare kahe, aiche mohana vidya, ye deke se mohe. Whoever sees him accepts him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, since he has some mystic power by which he hypnotizes people. Everyone who sees him becomes illusioned. This is a great offense that Prakashananda Saraswati Thakur is speaking. So, Sarvabhaumavadacharya Pandita Prabhala Shuni Caitanya Rasange Aila Pagala. Sarvabhaumavadacharya was a very learned scholar, but I've heard that he also has become a madman due to his association with this Caitanya. Sannyasi Namamatra Mahandrit Indrajali Kashipure Navikabe Tanra Bhava Kali. This Caitanya is a sannyasi in name only. Wow, what an offense. Actually, he's a first-class magician. In any case, his sentimentalism cannot be very much in demand here in Kashi. Vedanta Shravanakara Nayahaye Tanra Pasha Utrin Kalaloka Sange Dviloka Nasha. Do not go to see Caitanya, just continue hearing Vedanta. If you associate with upstarts, you will be lost in this world and in the next. The word utrinkola means whimsical, meaning whimsical, is significant in this verse. In the Bhagavad Gita, in the 16th chapter, text 23, Lord Krishna himself says, Yaksha strivinim utsrija vartade kamakarata nasasinim abapnoti nasukam naparam gatim. If one acts whimsically and does not follow the Shastric principles, he will never attain perfection, happiness, or the spiritual world. Etashuni sevipra mahaduka poela Krishna Krishna kaitata haitayuti gela. When the Brahmana heard Prakashananda Saraswati speak like this about Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he became very much grief-stricken. Chanting the holy name of Krishna, he immediately left. Whew. Wow. Prabhura darashane shuddha hana chaitandramana Prabhu age dukhi hana kahi vivarana. Of course, this is what you're supposed to do when a Vaishnava or the Lord is offended. You're supposed to leave that situation immediately. Basically, that's the only thing you can do. Don't start a fight. Don't challenge the person. Just go away immediately. So that also applies to the internet. When you hear a devotee being offended on the internet, just go away. Because if you get into it, there'll be one offense after another, after another. It'll compound, it'll snowball, and you will be responsible for the amplification of the offenses against that great devotee or against the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So generally, people say things on the internet, I don't reply. because it's not going to help. People are so, especially now, people are so enthusiastic to criticize others, and so much lacking in enthusiasm to praise others. It's actually amazing. Amazing. I mean, I can tell some stories which I'm not going to tell. Definitely, I won't tell them right now. The mind of the Brahmin was already purified by his seeing the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. He therefore went to Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu and described what had taken place before the Mayavadi sannyasi Prakashananda. Shuni Mahaprabhu tabe ishad hasila punarapi se vipra prabhure puchila. Hearing this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu mildly smiled. The Brahmin then spoke again to the Lord. Tarage abhyami tumara nama Lila seha tumara nama jane apane kahila. The Brahmin said, as soon as I uttered your name before him, he immediately confirmed the fact that he knew your name. Tumara dosha kahite kare namero chara Chaitanya Chaitanya Kare Kahitina Bhara. While finding fault with you, he uttered your name 3 times, saying, Chaitanya, Chaitanya, Chaitanya. Tinabare Krishna Nama Nahaila Taramukhe Avagyati Nama Laya Shunipai Duke. Although he spoke your name 3 times, he did not utter the name Krishna because he uttered your name in contempt. I was very much aggrieved. Prakashananda Saraswati vilified and blasphemed Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Words like Brahma, Chaitanya, Atma, Paramatma, Jagadisha, Ishvara, Virat, Vibhu, Bhuma, Viswarupa, and Vyapaka all indirectly indicate Krishna. So, let me explain. There's actually primary names of God and there's secondary names of God. The primary names describe him in his personal relationships, like Govinda, Gopal, Krishna. And the secondary names are designations as to his position, like Paramatma, the Supreme Soul. Jagadisha, the controller of the universe. Ishvara, controller. Virat, the universal form. Vibhu, great. Like all these different words are actually secondary names of God. And actually one can chant the secondary names of God, but they won't bring you to the perfectional platform of pure love of God. Only the primary names of God will actually bring you to that perfectional platform. However, the chanter of these names is not actually attracted to the Supreme Personality of God and Krishna and his transcendental pastimes. One may get a little light from these names, little light, but one cannot understand that the holy name of the Lord is identical with the Lord. One considers the Lord's names material due to a poor fund of knowledge. Mayavadi philosophers and the Panchopasakas cannot in the least understand the existence of the spiritual world and the blissful variegatedness there. They cannot understand the absolute truth and its spiritual varieties, name, form, qualities, and pastimes. Consequently, they conclude that Krishna's transcendental activities are Maya, and that means illusion. To avoid this misconception, one has to directly cultivate knowledge about the holy name of the Lord. Mayavadi philosophers do not know this fact, and therefore they commit great offenses. One should not hear anything about Krishna or devotional service from the mouths of Mayavadi impersonalists. Ihara karana more, kaha kripa kare, tomadeki mukamora, bale Krishna hare. Why could Prakashananda not utter the name Krishna and Hari? He chanted the name Chaitanya thrice. As far as I am concerned, simply by seeing you, I am moved to chant the holy names Krishna and Hari. Prabhu Kahi, Mayavadi Krishna Aparadi, Brahma Atma Caitanya Kahi Nira Bodhi. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replied, the Mayavadi impersonalists are great offenders unto Lord Krishna. Therefore, they simply utter the words Brahman, Atma, and Chaitanya. Atayut Haramukhe Naishi Krishna Nama, Krishna Nama, Krishna Sarupa, Tuita Samana. Because they are offenders unto Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is identical with his holy name, the holy name Krishna does not manifest in their mouths. Wow. Nama Vigraha Sarupa, Tina Eko Rupa, Tina Veda Nahi Tina, Chidananda Rupa. The Lord's holy name, his form, and his personality are all one and the same. There's no difference between them. Since all of them are absolute, they are all transcendently blissful. Deya Dahira Namira Krishna Nahi Veda Jivera Dharma Nama Deha Sarupe Viveda. There's no difference between Krishna's body and himself, or between his name and himself. But as far as the conditioned soul is concerned, one's name is different from one's body, from one's original form, and so on. In other words, if I chant your name, if your name is Bob or Bill or June or whatever, June or July, you're not there. Or if I chant the name of some substance, it's a typical example that Prabhupada gave. If you chant the name of water, you're not going to be able to quench your thirst. You got water, 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 water. Because it's different. It's just a label, temporary label, for a particular substance. But in the spiritual realm, the substance and the name are the same. So if you chant Krishna, Krishna's there. So that's the difference between the spiritual realm and the material realm. Excuse me. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is herein pointing out to the Brahmana that Mayavadi philosophers cannot understand that the living entity is equal in quality with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because they do not accept this, they think that the living entity has been falsely divided from the original Brahman due to being conditioned by Maya. Mayavadi, in other words, we are God, but somehow or other we've forgotten it. Or we're part of God, and we just have to reintegrate ourselves. Mayavadis believe that the absolute truth is ultimately impersonal. When an incarnation of God or God himself comes, they think he is covered by Maya. In other words, Mayavadi impersonalists think that the Lord's form is also a product of this material world. Due to a poor fund of knowledge, they cannot understand that Krishna has no body separate from himself. His body and himself are both the same. Absolute truth. Not having perfect knowledge of Krishna, such impersonalists certainly commit offenses at his lotus feet. Therefore, they do not utter Krishna, the original name of the Absolute Truth. In their impersonal way, they utter the name of impersonal Brahman, spirit, soul. In other words, they indulge in indirect indications of the Absolute Truth, even if they happen to utter the names Govinda, Krishna, or Madhya. They still cannot understand that these names are as good as Govinda, Krishna, or Madhya, the person. Because they are ultimately impersonalists, their uttering of the personal name has no potency. Actually, they do not believe in Krishna, but consider all these names to be material vibrations. Not being able to appreciate the holy name of the Lord, they simply utter indirect names like Brahman, Atma, and Caitanya. It is a fact, however, that the name of Krishna and Krishna the person are both spiritual. Namachintamani Krishna's Caitanya Rasa Vigraha, Purna Shuddha Nitya Mukto, Vinatwam Namanamino. Everything about Krishna is transcendental, blissful, and objective. For a conditioned soul, the body is different from the soul, and the name given by the Father is also different from the soul. The conditioned living entity's identification with material objects keeps him from attaining his actual position. Although he is an eternal servant of Krishna, he acts differently. The Sarupa, or actual identification of the living entity, is described by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as Jivara Sarupa Hoy Krishnara Nichidas. In other words, the actual eternal identity of the soul is to be a servant of Krishna, an eternal servant of Krishna. That's from the Caitanya Caritamrta, Madhya, Lila 20:108. The conditioned soul has forgotten, there's that word, forgotten. So that means we originally knew. You can't forget something that you didn't know. The conditioned soul has forgotten the real activities of his original position. However, this is not the case with Krishna. Krishna's name and his person are identical. There's no such thing as Maya Krishna, because Krishna is not a product of the material creation. There's no difference between Krishna's body and his soul. Krishna is simultaneously both soul and body. Also, we are in the spiritual world too. The distinction between body and soul applies to conditioned souls. The body of the conditioned soul is different from the soul, and the conditioned soul's name is different from its body. One may be called Mr. John, but if we call for Mr. John may never actually appear. This is an example I just gave. However, if we utter the holy name of Krishna, Krishna is immediately present on our tongue. In the Padma Purana, Krishna says, Bhad Bhakta Yatragayanti Tatra Tishtami Narada. O Narada, I am present wherever my devotees are chanting. When the devotees chant the holy name of Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Lord Krishna is immediately present. Oh, here's the verse I just quoted. Wow. I believe it's from the Padma Purana. Namachintamani Krishnas Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha Purna Shuddha Nichin Mukto Vinatvam Namanham Naho. The holy name of Krishna is transcendently blissful. It bestows all spiritual benedictions, for it is Krishna himself, the reservoir of all pleasure. Krishna's name is complete, and it is the form of all transcendental mellows. It is not a material name under any condition, and it is no less powerful than Krishna, since Krishna's name is not contaminated by the material qualities. There is no question of its being involved with Maya. Krishna's name is always liberated and spiritual. It is never conditioned by the laws of material nature. This is because the name of Krishna and Krishna himself are identical. And like I said, this is a quotation from the Padma Purana. Very important verse, which I use quite often. Namachintamani Krishnas Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha Purnashuddha Nityamukto Vinatvam Namanamano. So, Ataiva Krishna Nama Deya Vilhasa Aprakritendriya Graya Nahihaya Svaprakasha. The holy name of Krishna, his body and his pastimes, cannot be understood by the blunt material senses. They are manifested independently. Since Krishna's transcendental body, name, form, qualities, pastimes, and entourage are all the absolute truth, they are as good as Krishna himself, Satchidananda Vigraha, Brahma Samhita 5.1. As long as the living entity is conditioned by the three modes of material nature, goodness, passion, and ignorance, the objects of its material senses, material form, taste, smell, sound, and touch, will not help him understand spiritual knowledge and bliss. Rather, these are revealed to the pure devotee. One's material name, form, and qualities are certainly different from one another. In other words, our name is different from us, our material form is different from us, the qualities are different from us, and the qualities that we're going to have in the spiritual world are completely different than the qualities that we're exhibiting now. Don't think that they are similar. They're completely different. One's material name, form, and qualities are certainly different from one another. In the material world, there's no conception of absolute. However, when we come to Krishna consciousness, we find that there is no material difference between Krishna's body and his name, activities, and entourage. In other words, when we chant Krishna's name, Krishna is, as Prabhupada said, dancing on the tip of our tongue. Krishna is present. He manifests himself. Krishna. If you actually have spiritual vision, then when I just said Krishna, you would see Krishna. Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilavachanena Shantak Shadaiva Riyeshu Vilokayanti Yam Shaima Shandarama Chincha Gurusvaram Govanam Adipuracham Tamaham Bhajami. These are very important instructions about Krishna's name. Krishna Nama, Krishna Guna, Krishna Lila Vrinda, Krishna Swarupa Sama, Saba Chidananda. Krishna's holy name, transcendental qualities, and transcendental pastimes are all equal to Lord Krishna himself. They are all spiritual and full of bliss. Here's another very, 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 very important verse. Atakshi Krishna Namadi Navavet Grayam Indriyam. No, Indriyai, so I got it right the first time. Seva Mukhehi Jivadu Swaimevis Parachitaha. Therefore, material senses cannot appreciate Krishna's holy name, form, qualities, and pastimes. When a conditioned soul is awakened to Krishna consciousness and renders service by using his tongue to chant the Lord's holy name and taste the remnants of the Lord's food, the tongue is purified, and one gradually comes to understand who Krishna really is. And of course, that's a verse written by Rupa Goswami. This verse is recorded in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1-234. Very important verse. Atakshi Krishna Namadi Navavet Grayam Indriyai Sevan Mukhehi Jivadu Swaimevis Parachitaha. In other words, no one can directly appreciate the holy name of Krishna, the pastimes of Krishna, the form of Krishna, Takshi Krishna, Nabhavet Grayam Indriyai, when you're attached to the material senses. But if you serve the Lord with your senses, Rishikendra Rishikesha Sevanam, beginning with the tongue, Sevan Mukhehi Jivadu, Swayameva Spurachita, you can actually ultimately come to the understanding of Krishna, of who Krishna is, where he is, what his holy name is. Brahmananda Haite Purananda, Lila Rasa, Brahmagyani, Akarshya, Caritamrta Vasha. The mellows of Lord Krishna's pastimes, which are full of bliss, attract the jnani from the pleasure of Brahman realization and conquer him. Jnani means like an impersonalist or someone who's just trying to figure everything out for himself. Maybe just like a Brahmavadi instead of a Mayavadi. Brahmavadi is like an innocent impersonalist, just doesn't know better. It's something like a agnostic, and a Mayavadi is something like an atheist. An atheist is an offender. Agnostic is just an honest guy who says, I don't know. So a Brahmavadi is an honest person who simply says, I don't know if there's anything higher than Brahman, but Brahman is pretty nice. Okay. When one understands that he belongs not to the material world, but to the spiritual world, one is called liberated. Being situated in the spiritual world is certainly pleasurable, but those who realize the transcendental name, form, qualities, and pastimes of Lord Krishna enjoy transcendental bliss many times more than one who has simply realized the self. In other words, realize the self as being spiritual, but there's more than that. To actually realize the self fully, you have to realize the self as Mamavangsa Jivaloke, Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. As Krishna's Angsa, part and parcel of Krishna, meant to serve Krishna. When one is situated on the platform of self-realization, he can certainly be easily attracted to Krishna and become a servant of the Lord. This is explained in the Bhagavad Gita, 1854, famous verse, Brahma Bhuta Prasanatman Shochati Nakangshati. Slamaksarveshu Bhuteshu Madbhaktim Labate Param. So one who is situated in Brahman becomes satisfied and happy, and he doesn't hanker or lament, and he's poised, equal to all living entities. In such a state of mind, one can take up devotional service. One who is thus transcendently situated and once realizes the Supreme Brahman becomes fully joyful. He never laments or desires to have anything. He is equally disposed to every living entity. In that state, he attains pure devotional service unto me. Very important verse in the 18th chapter. It's towards the end of the 18th chapter. When one becomes spiritually realized, Brahma Bhuta, like, I'm Brahman, Ham Brahmasi. 1854, which we just recited, he becomes happy. Prasanatma, that means the soul becomes happy, the Atma, for he's relieved from material conceptions. One who's attained this platform is not agitated by material action and reaction. He sees everyone on the platform of spirit soul. Pandita Samadarshana, this is another important verse in the Bhagavad Gita 5:18. Vijavinaya Sampane Brahmani Govihashtani Shunichaiva Sampakicha Pandita Sambhadarshana, the learned and gentle sage, sees all living entities equally, such as a dog, dog eater, outcast, etc., like that. 518, extremely important verse. When one is completely realized, he can rise to the platform of pure devotional service, Mad Bhaktim Labhate Param. When one comes to the platform of bhakti, devotional service, he automatically realizes who Krishna is. As the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 18:55, the next verse, Bhaktimam abhijanati yavanyaschasmi tatvata tapo mam tatvato gyatva vishate tandalantaram. One can understand me as I am, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Only, it's an exclusive word, by devotional service. And when one is in full consciousness of me, that's Krishna, by such devotion he can enter into the kingdom of God. It is only on the bhakti platform that one can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, and his transcendental name, form, qualities, pastimes, and entourage. Being thus qualified spiritually, one is allowed to enter the spiritual kingdom of God and return home, back to Godhead, Vishate Tad, Anantaram. Sasvasukanavrta Chetastad, Yudashtanya Bhavo, Vyatita Ruchirali Lakrishta, Sarastadiyam, Vyatanuta. No, sorry. Vyatanuta kripaya yastattvadipam puranam tamakila vrajina gnam vyasa sunum natosme. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto my spiritual master, the son of Vyasadeva, Shukadeva Goswami. It is he who defeats all inauspicious things within this universe. Although in the beginning he was absorbed in the happiness of Brahman realization and was living in a secluded place, giving up all the types of consciousness, he became attracted by the most melodious pastimes of Lord Shri Krishna. He therefore mercifully spoke the supreme Purana known as Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the bright light of the Absolute Truth and which describes the activities of Lord Krishna. This verse was spoken by Sutta Goswami in Srimad Bhagavatam 12:69. So actually, Shukadeva Goswami was absorbed in Brahman, but when he heard the pastimes of Krishna, he gave up that absorption and started to be absorbed in the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the topmost aspect of spirituality. Prabheti Paramatmeti Bhagavan Iti Shabdyate Brahmananda Hite Purananda Krishna Guna Ataiva Karshya Atma Rame Ramada. The transcendental qualities of Sri Krishna are completely blissful and relishable. Consequently, Lord Krishna's qualities attract even the minds of the self-realized persons. So now a very famous verse, which we actually heard before in the Caitanya Caritamrta, is called the Atmaramas verse. That means all varieties of transcendentalists who are detached from this material world are attracted to the qualities, name, and forms of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Actually, I should quote this verse again. Atmaramas chamunyo nigranta ap yurukrame kurvantiya kaitukim bhaktim itam bhutat muno hari. Those who are self-satisfied and unattracted by external material desires are also attracted to the loving service of Sri Krishna, whose qualities are transcendental and whose activities are wonderful. Hari, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is called Krishna because he has such transcendentally attractive features. Okay. So this proves that Krishna's name, quality, and forms are transcendental. If those who are not attracted to anything of this world, who are not attracted to anything material, are attracted to Krishna's name, form, qualities, and pastimes, that indicates that Krishna's name, form, qualities, and pastimes are not material, i.e. spiritual. E sabarahu Krishna charana sambhande atmaram mana Hari Tulasira Gande. Apart from the pastimes of Lord Krishna, when tulasi leaves are offered at the lotus feet of Sri Krishna, even the aroma of the leaves attracts the minds of self-realized persons. Wow. Of course, this happened with the four Kumaras. Tasharavinda Nayanasya Padaravinda Kinjalka Mishra Tulasi Makaranda Vayu Antargata Swavivarena Chakaratesham Shangshobhamaksharajusham Apichitta Tanvaho. When the breeze carrying the aroma of tulsi leaves and saffron from the lotus feet of the lotus eye personality of God had entered through the nostrils into the hearts of the sages, the Kumaras, they experienced a change in body and mind, even though they were attracted to the impersonal Brahman understanding. This is a verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam 3:15-43. Vidura and Maitreya discuss the pregnancy of Diti. Diti's pregnancy caused the demigods to be very much afraid, and the demigods went to see Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma explained the original incident involving the cursing of Jai and Vijay by the Chatushana Kumaras. Once the Chatushana, that means four Kumaras, Chatushana Kumaras went to Vaikuntha to visit Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but they were stopped from entering this palace at the seventh gate, seven gates of heaven, by two doorkeepers named Jai and Vijay. Due to their jealousy, Jai and Vijay would not allow the Kumaras to entry, and consequently the Kumaras became angry and cursed Jai and Vijay, condemning them to take birth in a family of asuras in the material world. The omniscient personality of Godhead could immediately understand the incident, and he came with his eternal consort, the goddess of fortune. The Chatushana Kumaras immediately offer their obeisances unto the Lord simply by seeing the Lord and smelling the aroma of tulsi and saffron from his lotus feet. The Kumaras became devotees and abandoned their long-cherished impersonalism. Thus, the four Kumaras were turned into Vaishnavas simply by smelling the aromatic tulsi mixed with saffron. Those who are actually on the platform of Brahman realization and who have not offended the lotus feet of Krishna can immediately become Vaishnavas simply by smelling the aroma of the Lord's lotus feet. But those who are offenders or demons are never attracted to the Lord's personal feature, even though they may visit the Lord's temple many times. In Vrindavan, we have seen many Mayavadi sannyasis who do not even come to the temple of Govindaji, Gopinath, or Madan Mohan because they think that such temples are Maya. Therefore, they are called Mayavadis. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu therefore said that the Mayavadis are the greatest offenders. And we're going to end here today. That's text 142. Hold on a second. And we will stop sharing and take some questions. We just have a shorter time for questions today. The reason for that being that we have a little preaching party. I hate to mention this. But anyway, we have a little preaching party here, and it's a Halloween party where some devotees are going to dress up as devotees. You know, something unusual for you. Anyways, at the university, we're having like a private Halloween party for the devotees, and we're going to see some scary Krishna conscious movies. Anyways, all right, so we have that in a few minutes. So we have some questions. Shri Radhika, you have some questions?
Maharaj, how do we reconcile what you read, that the material senses cannot appreciate the holy name, with what we hear in like couple pastimes, for instance, like the Ajamila pastime, where even if chanted offensively, even if chanted once, even if chanted unconsciously, the holy name liberates. Or the pastime where Haridas Thakur is speaking to that, I think it's Gopal Chapala, and there's the cutting off the nose, and he says even the shadow of the holy name can. So how do we reconcile these two statements?
Yeah, so even a shadow of the name can give you liberation. Even secondary names could give you liberation, but you can't really begin to appreciate the Lord until you get completely purified. It's one thing to get liberation, like that's what Haridas Thakur said, to Gopal Chapala, and also with Ajamil's story. Ajamil didn't fully appreciate the Lord. He just got saved from the Yamadutas. Then later on, he had to chant purely. Because without chanting purely, you cannot appreciate the Lord's transcendental name, form, and pastimes. So there's a difference between appreciating and then just getting liberated. I mean, there's benefit. Just like we're going, tonight we're going to get people to chant, and they'll be benefited. But how many of them will appreciate? They'll appreciate to the extent that they're purified. But the Bhagavatam states in the 10th canto, first chapter, Nivritta Tarashar Upagimana Bhavoshira Shotra Mono Biramat Ka Uttamashlaka Gunana Vadat Puman Vidajeta Binal Poshugnat. That those who are actually committing sinful activities, specifically the killing of animals, cannot appreciate the Lord's pastimes, which includes the Lord's holy names. But still there's benefit when they chant. There's a difference. They won't be able to fully appreciate until they have purified senses. But they are still benefited. Even a tree or inanimate entities, such as grass or something like that, when they hear the holy name, they get benefited, but they cannot appreciate until they get purified, fully purified. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you very much, Mark. Yes.
Okay, so Jai Radhika in Australia. You have a question?
Maharaj, peace and my humble obeisances to your glorious to Srila Prabhupada. We just read about how Mayavadis cannot utter the name Krishna, but they utter the names of Brahman, Atma, and Caitanya. So, so the name of Caitanya, I was thinking should give them some security. Or is it because their consciousness is not right? They probably think Caitanya is probably the spark or soul or something.
Yeah, I mean, there is Sukriti, there is benefit of chanting even indirect or secondary names of God. Like if you chant Paramatma, there's a benefit to that. But these are secondary names of God. However, if you chant a secondary name of God and you're connecting it with the person, Krishna, or the person, Lord Chaitanya, in the name of, for the example, Lord Chaitanya, then there's more benefit at that particular point. Like when you see Krishna, a devotee can see Krishna everywhere and in everything, and so that helps or enhances his devotional service. And sometimes the Mayavadis will chant the name Krishna, but to merge into Krishna, so it's a very offensive type of chanting. But they're not really attached to chanting it.
Yeah, okay.
Okay?
Yeah. Okay.
All right. I think we're going to end a little early tonight because we do have this party, Krishna Conscious Party, where I'm going to dress up as a Hare Krishna devotee. Unbelievable. And anyway, so I have to get over there. It's not here. It's somewhere else. So I have to get over there and join with the party. So as for preaching, we can use anything for preaching. Halloween or Christmas or, whatever holiday, New Year's or the summer solstice or the equinox. We just whatever excuse we have, or the 100th anniversary of this or the 150th anniversary of that. I mean, it's interesting how the devotees come up with all these different anniversaries, 125th anniversary, 150th anniversary. And these are all utilized to present Krishna consciousness. So, with that in mind, we'll see everybody, hopefully, tomorrow evening. All glories to His divine grace. Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada.